The 2011 Stanley Cup Finals between the Boston Bruins and Vancouver Canucks produced some of the most dramatic hockey in NHL history. The Bruins finished the regular season as the Northeast Division champions with 103 points, finishing as the third seed in the Eastern Conference. In their 33rd postseason meeting, Boston eliminated the Montreal Canadiens in 7 games in Round 1. They swept the Philadelphia Flyers in Round 2, outscoring them 20-7 in 4 games. In the Eastern Conference Finals, Boston defeated the Tampa Bay Lightning in 7 games to punch their ticket to the Stanley Cup Finals. It was the 18th appearance in the Stanley Cup Finals for the Bruins, and their first since 1990, when they lost in 5 games to the Edmonton Oilers. The Canucks finished the regular season with 117 points, winning their first President's Trophy in team history. In the first round of the playoffs, the Canucks met the Chicago Blackhawks for the 3rd consecutive postseason, having lost both previous series in 6 games. After Vancouver won the first 3 games, Chicago won 3 straight to force a Game 7. Vancouver won the 7th game in overtime on a goal by Alex Burrows, to avoid becoming the 4th team in NHL history to lose a series after taking a 3-0 lead. The Canucks then eliminated the Nashville Predators in 6 games, with each game decided by a single goal, with the exception of an empty net goal by Vancouver in Game 4. Vancouver went on to defeat the San Jose Sharks in the Western Conference Finals in 5 games. It was Vancouver's 3rd appearance in the Stanley Cup Finals, having previously appeared in the finals against the Islanders in 1982 and the Rangers in 1994, losing those series in 4 and 7 games respectively. The Canucks were the first team from Canada to make it to the finals since the Ottawa Senators in 2007. The series opened on June 1st at Rogers Arena in Vancouver. Game 1 was a goaltender's duel between 2 Vezina finalists. It was the first time since 1984 that the opening game of the Cup Finals was scoreless through 2 periods. Raffi Torres' goal with 18.5 seconds left in regulation gave the Canucks a 1-0 victory. At the end of the first period, Vancouver's Alex Burrows was given a double minor for roughing. Replays showed that Burrows bit Bergeron's finger. Despite Bergeron's plea to the referees, no additional penalty was assessed to Burrows. And even though biting is a suspendable offense, Burrows didn't receive a suspension on the grounds there was no conclusive evidence that he actually bit Bergeron. Before Game 2, the Boston Red Sox moved their evening game to the afternoon, so Bruins fans could watch both games. None other than Alex Burrows opened the scoring in Game 2. Milan Lucic squared things up midway through the second, and Mark Recchi gave Boston its first lead of the series a couple minutes later. Daniel Sedin responded for Vancouver midway through the third, and the game headed to overtime tied at 2. In the second fastest overtime in Stanley Cup Finals history, Alex Burrows scored 11 seconds into the extra frame to give Vancouver a 3-2 win, and the series shifted to Boston with the Canucks leading 2-0. After a scoreless first period, the Bruins erupted for 5 unanswered goals. Jannik Hansen scored to get the Canucks on the board, but the Bruins added 3 more unanswered goals to take the game 8-1. Early in the first period, Vancouver's Aaron Rome received a major penalty and a game misconduct for a blindside hit to the head of Boston's Nathan Horton. Horton was taken off the ice on a stretcher and taken to the hospital for further observation. Following a disciplinary hearing on June 7th, Rome was given a 4-game suspension for the late hit, which assured that he'd miss the remainder of the playoffs. It was the first multi-game suspension in Stanley Cup Finals history. Game 3 had 145 total penalty minutes, the most in a Stanley Cup Finals game since 1990. The 8-1 score was the biggest goal differential in the Stanley Cup Finals since 1996, when the Colorado Avalanche defeated the Florida Panthers by the same score. The Bruins continued their dominance in Game 4. Rich Peverley opened the scoring for the Bruins in the first, and Michael Ryder and Brad Marchand extended the Bruins' lead to 3 goals in the second, before Peverley put away the game with his second goal early in the third. Tim Thomas made 38 saves in the Bruins' 4-0 victory, and the series headed back to Vancouver all squared up at 2 games apiece. Game 5 played out much the same as Game 1. After 2 scoreless periods, the Canucks took the game 1-0 on Maxime Lapierre's game-winning goal, and were heading back to Boston 1 win away from their first Stanley Cup in franchise history, but the Bruins continued their home ice dominance, jumping out to a 4-0 lead before the halfway mark of the first period. After a scoreless second, Henrik Sedin got the Canucks on the board early in the third, but David Krejci restored the Bruins' 4-goal lead a few minutes later. The Canucks added a goal with a little over 2 minutes remaining, but it was too little too late, as the Bruins took the game 5-2. With that, the series headed back to Vancouver for the 16th Game 7 in Stanley Cup Finals history. Bergeron opened the scoring for the Bruins 14:37 into the first period, and Marchand gave the Bruins a 2-0 lead a little over halfway through the second. The Bruins landed a serious blow when Bergeron scored a late shorthanded goal, giving Boston a 3-0 lead heading into the third period. Brad Marchand sealed the deal with an empty net goal late in the third, and the Bruins ended their 39-year Stanley Cup drought. Tim Thomas made 37 saves in his Game 7 shutout, and earned playoff MVP honors. The final game of the series attracted huge crowds on the streets of Vancouver, who gathered to watch the game on outside monitors and cheer the home team on. Shortly before the game ended, fires erupted on West Georgia Street. After the game ended, cars were set on fire and fighting broke out. Before long, a full-scale riot was in progress in downtown Vancouver, with police cars set on fire, shops looted, and property destroyed. The damage was greater than the 1994 riots that occurred after Vancouver lost in the Stanley Cup Finals to the New York Rangers. That's all for this look back at the 2011 Stanley Cup Finals. Thanks for tuning in. Leave a like and a comment, and make sure to hit the subscribe button for more hockey history.